Hey, what is going on guys, RvzStealth here, and in today's video we're going to be breaking down 10 of the most underrated or sleeper OP champions, builds, rune setups for patch 9.17. Alright, so to start off here for top lane Pantheon, Keegan has been running a new setup on him recently, going for Triforce into Black Cleaver. Now this is a really good build setup into other bruiser top laners or into tank top laners. If you're going up against like a very squishy top lane champion, like an unconventional top lane pick that isn't going to be building any HP, isn't going to be building any armor, then just going for a lethality build is still fine. But this setup here of Triforce into Black Cleaver is going to be the one that works best for most games, because a lot of games you're going to see bruiser top laners or tank top laners, and this setup does extremely well into them. Rune setup there is going to be pretty standard, so running the Conquer, and the Conquer combined with the Black Cleaver there is going to allow you to completely shred tanks or shred armor stacking champions in the mid to late game. So with this build setup, you don't fall off as hard as well as if you'd go for like a lethality setup, because once you reach mid to late game, if you're going for lethality, enemy team stacking armor, those stats from lethality become a lot worse. So this setup not only does better into bruisers and into tanks, it also helps you scale a little bit better into the mid to late game. Now moving on to a jungle pick, Twitch jungle has started to see an increase in win rate and pick rate over the past couple patches here, especially in this patch, and I think it's mainly due to indirect reasons and the fact that if you take a look at the support role in this patch here especially, we saw buffs to Leona, we saw buffs to Zyra. If you take a look at the most picked supports right now, it's very heavy CC aggro support champions that can do a really good job at assisting Twitch when he does come in for ganks, so it makes his level 2 ganks or just his ganks throughout the early game a lot more effective when you're playing with these supports or playing with champions that do have some sort of lockdown or do have some sort of gank assist for you. So it just allows you to snowball the early game super hard. If you take a look at the top lane as well right now, really good gap close champions that can get onto the target and allow Twitch to pull off a successful gank. So the 5 most picked top laners right now are Aatrox, Darius, Renekton, Jax, and Pantheon. All those champions there have some sort of a way to lock down the opponent or to jump onto the opponent. So in the top lane and in the support role, the ability for Twitch to find ganks in the early game and the ability for him to successfully get ganks off and get kills is really good for this patch right now. Now for the Malphite pick, in both the jungle and in the mid lane, I did just make a separate video on him where I went more in depth to the pick right now, so if you want to see that, then I will leave an annotation up on screen here. But a quick little rundown of the Malphite in the jungle here is that you want to farm to your level 6, you want to be doing your buff Krugs Raptor clear in the early game so that you can get the most amount of XP, so that you can hit your level 6 quicker. Once you do hit your level 6, your ganks are pretty much foolproof. You come in, you hit your ultimate, you get a free kill. Once you get some items going on this Malphite, you become pretty much just a one-shot monster. You choose one champion on the enemy team in every fight that basically just dies straight up. So if the enemy AD carry is fed, if the enemy mid laner is fed, just single out those targets in team fights, one-shot them, and your job is done, and you're gonna have a lot of success on this pick. Now surprisingly, Gallio in the mid lane is back to performing pretty well in solo queue. He's got a pretty solid win rate right now at around 51%. Pretty low pick rate though, only at around like 2%, but it does seem like the buffs did really help him out, and it does seem like after those W buffs, he's now at least a viable mid lane champion. He's not just garbage anymore. So in this patch, his W, the max damage on it got increased by like 90, I'm pretty sure it is, once you do get it maxed out there. So you do want to be maxing your W out second in this patch. Around 30% of players are maxing E out second on Gallio, but that's not what you should be doing. Max your W out second, and your damage output from your all-in combo is going to be much stronger here in 9.17. And then setup for the Gallio mid really hasn't changed too much since the last time he's been in the meta, so you still want to run the Aftershock there so that you can be tankier in those mid to late game fights. You do still want to build on full AP though, so going for Proto Belt into Ludens, give yourself a lot of burst damage, and your one-shot potential in the mid game with that build does become very strong. Now for more of an unconventional mid lane pick, the Nocturne mid is something that we have seen in the past. It's never really become meta in the mid lane at all, but it has been underrated for quite some time. I have been seeing it a little bit recently, or a little bit more recently, and I've just come to realize like how strong this pick can actually be. He's pretty much got perma shove throughout the early game with his Q and with his passive. You just walk up to the wave, Q it, get your auto passive proc, and you're gonna almost clear the wave out instantly. So you're kind of playing this Nocturne mid like Talon mid mid in a way. You just shove the wave in. Once you do hit level 6, you do look to go for roams there with your ultimate, and your roams are extremely good at level 6. The build setup for this Nocturne is going to be Duskblade into the Spear of Sojin, so you just have a lot of one-shot and a lot of dueling potential once you do get to that core setup. You also want to make sure you are running the Presence of Mind along with the Ultimate Hunter to put your ultimate on a very short cooldown. In a way, it's kind of like the Malphite mid pick right now, to where you do just want your ultimate on the shortest cooldown possible, because whenever that is up, you can be looking to make very aggressive plays. And then matchup wise for Nocturne, he does super good into a couple of champs that just recently got buffed and are being played a lot more. So the Kassadin pick does really good into him, does great into Echo, who's going to be getting buffed in 9.18 as well. He does super good into Syndra, who got buffed and is being played a lot more. So not only does he have the potential to be a great shove and roam mid lane champion, his matchups in the mid lane are also pretty good. Like, he doesn't have a terrible laning phase by any means. So definitely, if you're looking for a new shove and roam mid lane champion who can influence the map super well, then Nocturne's a pick I would consider. Now, taking a look at a jungle pick here, Dr. Mundo in the jungle over in NA and in EU really hasn't caught on yet. It's only got around like a 2 or 3% pick rate, so that's why I am including him in this video. But over in Korea, it's got like a 10% pick rate right now. Korean junglers are playing him a ton right now in 9.17, and it's a pick that kind of popped out of nowhere over the past few patches. It did get a buff to his W and to his E a few patches ago, and I think that's the main reason to why people started to play him more. But he's just a very, very simple jungler. Like, he's super easy to learn. You're gonna be able to pick him up and have some success pretty early on. The build setup on Mundo jungle is gonna be Cinderhulk into Warmog, so the amount of HP you're gonna be getting from that build setup in the mid game is gonna be insane, and you're gonna be very, very difficult to kill. You're gonna run the fleet footwork as well, along with the approach velocity, so you do have really good sticking power with this setup. It's gonna be very difficult for the enemies to escape you if you do end up landing a cleaver on them. So definitely a pick I would consider picking up right now, a new jungle pick that is starting to emerge as one of the strongest junglers in 9.17. Now, for a mid lane pick, Auriel Sol, most players are playing him wrong right now after the mini rework to his W. Pretty much every high elo Auriel Sol right now is going for this setup that I do have on screen here. So it's going to be the Electrocute as your keystone. It's going to be Rylai's into Spellbinder as your core build. So with the changes to Auriel Sol in this patch to his W, he's no longer like your super good sustained damage champion. Your W isn't going to be running for an extended duration or for however long you want it to run. So going for the sustained setup, the sustained build of like Rod of Ages into Rylai's isn't something that you want to go for anymore. You want to go for Rylai's into Spellbinder, just have a little bit more burst potential with this setup there. With the Electrocute too, it does make your one-shot combo much better with this new Auriel Sol. Now, just take note, this isn't the only build setup that's working best on him right now. This is just the one that most of the one tricks and most of the high elo players are running. Another good build setup that you can look into is Ludens into Rylai's. The Ludens rush there just does amplify your burst potential. Once you do pick that up, gives you a very strong one-shot combo. So Ludens into Rylai's into Morello is another build that you can look to try out. Now, another tank jungle pick that has been on the rise the past few patches is Zac. So Zac along with Mundo are two picks that just get very tanky in the mid game. They go for Cinderhulk, they go for Warmogs, and especially if you are up against a heavy AP enemy composition, they can go for Spirit Visage, and it just makes them very difficult to kill in the mid to late game. They just become these super tanks that have pretty good engage, or you do have very good engage with Zac jungle. So if you do get ahead with him in the early to mid game, you can constantly be looking to force fights and look to press your advantage with the champion. Zac's rise in strength over the past couple of months has not really been due to just one big change that has just all of a sudden brought him back into the meta. It's just mainly because this champion has been buffed multiple times over the past couple of months, and even though those buffs were pretty small, they've all finally started to add up, kind of similar to the Mundo changes. He's never just been in one patch all of a sudden one of the best champions. Slowly but surely, these champions have made their way back into the meta due to some small direct changes and also due to indirect changes to other junglers. Now, if we go down to the bot lane for a pick here, Swain support is something that is seeing a lot more play, and it is a pick that can do very well in heavy CC lanes. If you compare Swain up with something like a Jhin or an Ashe or a Jinx, just any champion that has the ability to chain CC can do great in the laning phase, and you can really get a snowball going with this champion if you do play him well. If you hit an E in lane with Swain and Jinx follows up with Flame Chompers or Jhin follows up with his bind, then you can do a lot of damage. You can have a lot of burst potential with this pick down in the bot lane, and when you do hit level 6, you're all in and your 2v2 potential is very strong. And then lastly, to round out the video, a very good counter to the meta bruiser top laners at the moment is Quinn top, and it's a new setup as well that's going around on this Quinn top lane. So it's going to be press the attack with a Blade the Ruin King rush and a W max. So the reason to why this setup works very well is because you do have great kiting potential into the bruiser top laners. You also have the ability to shred them very well with press the attack and with the percent HP damage coming out of Blade the Ruin King. So a lot of bruiser top laners like the Darius, the Renekton, the Aatrox are going to be stacking a lot of HP, more so than armor, so Blade the Ruin King and press the attack are going to do very well into those build setups. And then with the W max on this setup, you're just going to be able to completely shred through these bruiser top laners. You're going to have a ton of attack speed there. The press the attack proc's going to be going off super quickly. You're going to be getting extra damage from that. The amount of percent HP damage coming out of each auto attack is just going to allow you to take out these champions very quickly. So if you are looking for a great counter pick to the current meta in the top lane, definitely look to pick up Quinn. So that is going to be all for this video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy. Those are 10 champions, builds, or rune setups that are very underrated or sleeper OP for patch 9.17. So with that being said, if you guys did enjoy the video, then be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you have yet to already. So thanks for watching. Have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.